Okay, good morning, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order, and we're going to start with a short prayer. Lord, once again, we thank you for this great place that we have to live, and pray your protection on everyone that works here. Pray your blessing on everyone that lives in the MD of Bonnyville, and we understand the Reeves made it back into the country, and just pray your continued safety and blessing on him and his family. We ask this all in Jesus' name, amen. All right, we'll go on to the adoption of the agenda. Any additions or deletions?
Yes, Mr. Chair, administration is recommending the addition of 9.3.2, the 2024 tax rate bylaw first reading. So that's 9.3.2, 2024 tax rate bylaw, and 9.4.3, Reeve extended absence.
Okay, any other additions or deletions? Okay, seeing none, just looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Sipchuk, for moving to approve the agenda with the additions. Okay, so moved by Councillor Sipchuk that Council approves the adoption of the agenda with the following additions: 9.3.2 bylaw number 1862, 2024 tax rate bylaw first reading, and 9.4.3 extended absence approval. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll call for the vote. That's carried, thank you. Number 3.1, regular meeting, the minutes from the regular meeting of council, March 12th, 2024.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Just before we approve that one, I noted that there was a motion made by Councillor Scarson that was actually, they put my name on it, so it was the development application 2024-D019, so it was Councillor Scarson that made the motion, not myself.
Okay.
So the girls will
Okay,
have a chat with them, they'll fix that, and we'll amend that, and
Okay.
then I'll approve that, the minutes.
Okay, so that's a motion. Okay, so moved by Councillor Swigert that council approves adoption of the minutes of March 12th, 2024 regular meeting of council with the following amendment. Resolution number 24.074 moved by, I guess to say moved by Councillor Scarson. Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none, call for the vote. That's carried, thank you. Okay, I think we're gonna jump right into the tax rate bylaw. Good morning. You want to turn the microphone on? Thank you.
There we go. Today, I bring to you bylaw number 1862, 2024 tax rate bylaw. Administration hereby presents the 2024 tax rate bylaw. Section 353 of the Municipal Government Act requires municipal councils to annually pass a bylaw to raise revenues to be used towards the payment of municipal expenditures and transfers defined in the budget and the requisitions. The bylaw shall meet the requirements of Order in Council 121/2021, and this is annexing land from Improvement District number 349 to the Municipal District of Bonnyville and dissolving Improvement District number 349, as well as MGA Section 358.1, maximum tax ratio. Council has estimated $104,496,688 to be generated from municipal taxes to fund the expenditures for the 2024 tax year. Administration hereby presents bylaw number 1862, the 2024 tax rate bylaw in Appendix A with the following tax rates. Residential, 2.86240. Farmland, 5. Non-residential vacant, 14.312. Non-residential vacant for the order in council, 10.01840. Non-residential small business, 11.4496. Non-residential other, 14.312. Non-residential other for the order in council, 10.01840. Machinery and equipment, 14.312, and machinery and equipment for the order in council, 10.01840. These tax rates meet the following requirements. The order in council 121, 2021, non-residential tax rate at 70% of the non-residential tax rate of the MD. And MGA 358.1 maximum tax ratio. Non-residential tax rate cannot be greater than 5 times the residential tax rate. The bylaw reflects the 2023 requisition totals for the Senior Foundation, Greater North Foundation, and the designated industrial requisition. The bylaw will reflect the 2024 requisitions when the bylaw is presented to council at the April 23rd, 2024 council meeting for second reading. The $104,496,688 required to be collected from municipal taxes reflects the tax revenues as defined in the 2024 operating budget. The 1.333 262 2024 operating budget deficit, and $32,155.59 of additions to the 2024 operating budget passed by council resolution. References to legislation is the Municipal Government Act 353 and 358.1, as well as the Order in Council 121, 2021. Property owners can expect to receive their 2024 tax and assessment notice in May. Administration will also provide notice of the 2024 assessment and tax notice mailing in the local paper, on municipal website, and on social media. Administration recommendation is that bylaw 1862, being a bylaw of the Municipal District of Bonnyville, number 87, to authorize the rates of taxation to be levied against assessed properties within the municipality for the 2024 tax year be given first reading.
Okay, thank you. So we're just looking for a motion for first reading.
Mr.
Deputy-
Chair, just a comment. Of course, this is just new to us, right? We're just getting it. So you're talking, we're trying to follow along. So I'll just ask though, is there any differences between this year and last? Like anything that, first reading, we can go to first reading easily, but just any comments from you that would help us digest any changes or whatever?
Well, the first cut of the bylaw for this first reading basically reflects everything that council has put into the budget, which at the end of the budget, there was a $1.3 million deficit, so we included that. The revenues now, or the estimate, and I think the CAO can add a little bit more detail to that, I believe it was about $62 increase on a $400,000 property was kind of the estimate with the $1.3 million shortfall that was in the budget. And currently, in our calculations for that $400,000 property, we're about $66 in the calculation. So it's pretty well right in the mark of what was presented during the budget.
Okay, so Mr. Chair, I'll make motion for first reading. Gives us time to read through it. For sure.
Before you, just, Councillor Kriviak had his mic on there.
Yeah,
Wanted to say
thank you,
something first.
Mr. Deputy Reeve. I had a Greater North Foundation meeting yesterday, and our requisition for the MD of Bonneville came down. So it's not 310,000, it's now 295, 154 and 85 cents. But you'll be getting those numbers by the end of the week. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Scarson, you had something?
Yeah, just want, it'd be nice to have seen like last year's figures on there beside it, and maybe when we do second reading, we can have those as well.
Through the chair to all of council, what information would you be looking like side
Well,
by
you have,
side?
like just the tax, the mill rates.
Oh,
there,
sure.
How they compare to last year.
Yep. Yeah, I can present
$60
that
is
in the.
fine, but I mean, it would have been nice to just see whatever's gone up, right?
Through the chair to all of council, from last year's tax rates to this year's first reading, the difference between last year's and this year's is this year's bylaw went down 0.22% on all of the tax rates. So the tax rate did go down, and the reason for that is because the market from the summer of 2022 to 2023, the market did increase a little bit, got a little stronger, as well as with the the regulated assessments, where in the past I brought to council A times B times C times D, where A is the cost, B is the year-over-year cost modifiers, C is normal depreciation, and D is abnormal depreciation. That column B, where the year-over-year assessment modifiers, they also too increased to reflect the increased costs of all of the materials that have happened over the last year.
So when somebody asks, the tax rate has done what? It's gone down by 0.2%?
The tax rate itself has gone down in this first draft, or in this first reading, by 0.22. For that $400,000 property, the calculation is $65 increase on the municipal side. We won't know about all of the other taxes that are paid to pay off the requisitions, as well as, you know, we have different shifts in the municipality. The stronger areas went up a little bit more. The less stronger areas didn't go up as much. On average, market value went up about 6% on the residential side. So it's kind of hard throwing out just a percentage, just because everyone will take that percentage and apply it to them. That's why the $65 increase is a little bit more tangible on that $400,000 property.
Yeah. And I mean, it might be hard to do that, but it's going to be what everybody asks, right?
Correct.
So we just need that information.
Yep, I'll bring that.
Okay, we have a motion by Councillor Swigert that council approves the adoption of the minute. Wait, sorry guys, wrong one there. Okay, moved by Councillor Swigert that bylaw number 1862, being a bylaw of the MD Municipal District of Bonnyville, number 87, to authorize the rates of taxation to be levied against assessed properties within the municipality for the 2024 tax year be given first reading. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. Okay, that's carried. Thank you.
Thank you, council.
Okay, we're going to go to 7 and 7.1, development application.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is development permit application number 2024-D-037. The applicant is Bossman Construction. The owner is Drew and Vanessa Fleury. The applicant is applying for a side yard variance from 4.5 meters to 1.5 meters for the construction of a detached garage. The property is located in the Fontaine multi-lot subdivision on Moose Lake. Adjacent properties are residential parcels, a quarter section remnant, and municipal reserve. The applicant would like to construct a 30-foot by 28-foot detached garage. They are looking to place it near the house and have limitations placing it further back into the lot due to the location of the septic field. This variance would allow the placement of the garage to be at the setback, which is granted on lots that are less than 20,000 square feet. Adjacent landowner letters were sent out on March 4th, and we received no concerns. As per Section 20 of the Land Use Bylaw, variances may be considered when there are practical difficulties unique to the land and when they will not interfere with the amenities of the neighborhood or materially interfere with or affect the use, enjoyment, or value of neighboring properties. Recommendation for development application number 2024-D-037 is approve the request for a side yard variance from 4.5 meters to 1.5 meters for the construction of a detached garage as a discretionary use as per Part 3, Section 20, Part 6, Section 32 of the General Regulations, and Part 7, Section 71.2 of the Land Use Bylaw with the following conditions. An approved building permit is required as per the Alberta Safety Codes Act. Applicable electrical, gas, plumbing, and sewer permits are required as per the Alberta Safety Codes Act. Building materials shall be contained on-site in a waste bin or covered/enclosed trailer as per Section 2 of the Consolidated Public Safety Bylaw Number 1812. The building location to be staked out by an Alberta land surveyor and submitted for approval by the MD of Bonnyville prior to commencement of construction. Upon foundation completion, but prior to inspection, an Alberta land surveyor building certificate shall be provided to the Development Authority.
Okay, thank you. Just looking for a motion on this.
Mr. Chair, I'll just bring it up again because I always do. It'd be really nice, and this has nothing to do with the variance, but you look at a lot of these lots, they need septic fields because that's what they have. And we've talked about this in the past, man. It'd be really nice to have sewer systems in these subdivisions, specifically around the lake. It would save them tons of room on their lots too, because you can't build over a septic field. So anyway, just another kind of rant, I guess, about septic, and one day we might actually get there.
Yeah. You make it.
Yeah, hopefully one day, but for now, this is what we got, so I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. Thank you. So moved by Councillor Scarson that council approves development permit application number 2024-D-037 for a side yard variance from 4.5 meters to 1.5 meters for the construction of a detached garage within Southeast 561-6 west of the 4th as a discretionary use pursuant to Part 3, Section 20, and Part 7, Section 71.2 of the Land Use Bylaw for Bozeman Construction on behalf of Drew and Vanessa Fleury, as per the recommendation presented. Any further discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Okay, that's carried. We'll move on to 7.2.
This is Development Permit Application 2024-D-040. The applicant is George Harlton, and the owner is George and Barbara Harlton. The applicant is applying for a front yard variance from 7.6 meters to 6.1 meters and an east side yard variance from 4.5 meters to 0.76 meters for an existing detached garage. The property is located in the Eau Claire multi-lot subdivision on Muriel Lake. Adjacent properties are residential parcels and a municipal-owned lot. The applicant constructed a 15 by 24 detached garage in 2021 without the required development and building permits. This was reported to administration, contact was made with the landowner, and an application for the building with a required variance was submitted. Adjacent landowner letters were sent out on March 4th, 2024, and we received no concerns. As per Section 20 of the Land Use Bylaw, variances may be considered when there are practical difficulties unique to the land and when they will not interfere with the amenities of the neighborhood, materially interfere with or affect the use, enjoyment, or value of neighboring properties. If the garage is not approved, relocation to the minimum setbacks or removal of the garage would be required. Recommendation for development application 2024-D-040 is refuse the request for a front yard variance from 7.6 meters to 6.1 meters and an east side yard variance from 4.5 meters to 0.76 for an existing garage as the side yard variance is greater than the 25% allowable as per Section 20.1 of the Land Use Bylaw.
Okay, thank you. Just looking for a motion here. Yeah, Councillor Fadeev.
Yeah, excuse me. We just had this similar type of thing happen a few months ago in regards to an owner that asked us for it. We denied their permit and they still built it. This one here is just, they just built it.
Through the chair to Councillor Fadeev, yes, that is true. He built it without any permits or permissions applied for at all.
So yeah, so again,
Like recently he did this, or?
2021, right?
That is
That's
correct.
pretty recent.
So I mean, yeah, if we're in favor of this, I don't know what kind of signal we're giving as far as you just build it and ask for forgiveness after. It doesn't matter where the property lines are. I'm just
crazy.
it's not that hard to come to the office and ask for some direction, right?
Can I just ask, the aerial photo you have, that's a fence line. It looks like a kind of a fence line there, and he's built right against the fence and really close to the other neighbor's garage. And even for fire safety stuff, when, you know, if there's no space at all, yeah.
So I did provide a copy of the real property report that actually shows where the property lines are, and the topmost corner of the garage is 2.5 feet from the property line, which is also the fence line. So our aerials are a little bit out. That was one of the concerns, that it might have been encroaching, but the RPR shows that it is not. The neighbor's garage is a little further back into their lot and away from the property line, so there was no concerns with fire code setbacks.
Yeah, go ahead, Councilor Scarson.
So if this was, like, if he applied for this, or he would have been applying basically for the same ask then as he would be now, right?
So in discussion with the landowner, he said that he built it in the same location as the garage on the other side, which was also a contravention of the land use bylaw at that time. If the applicant came in and asked for a variance to the 1.5, we see that this lot is just over the 20,000. You know, giving the 1.5, we would have brought it here. It's something that is not so hard to give on these smaller lots. So we would have went through the education process about setbacks, requirements, and the variance process.
So then was he fined for this?
No, he actually came in really quickly after the first notification was sent out to try and resolve this issue.
Yeah, I'm not going to make a motion because I'm chairing the meeting, but I guess personally I don't see a problem with it where it's sitting there. It's not interfering with the neighbors. There was no letters of, no concerns from the neighbors when the letters were sent out. So it seems kind of silly to me to make somebody move a garage if there's no issues with it at the moment.
Well, I don't think it's silly. I mean, these are the bylaws and requirements that we, as council, have set. You, as chair, should be, you know, respecting what we have going on here as a whole. It's just, you know, you just can't let people just build on a whim and then get caught and then go, well, the neighbors didn't have a problem with it, and it's fine. So later on, it's what kind of message are we sending is the issue here. Can we just build and do whatever we want? I guess, you know, have that freedom, but this is not. I mean, you know, some of these freedoms should not be, I guess, you know, it just doesn't make sense. Like, it just ask for guidance, ask for permission. You know, we're here, we're fully staffed, we have a dedicated staff that could guide you along with it. Just doesn't make any sense at all here.
Yeah, he could have come in and asked for permission. That would have been, or got the proper permits and everything, would have been the right way to go, right? But as it is, it sits there right now, and it's not interfering with anything. And we heard from Christie here that it's not, there's no issues with the fire codes either right now, so. Councilor Sawyer.
Mr. Chair, I have to agree with Councilor Fadеев, though, you know, this was only 2021 apparently built it, right? It's not as if it was like, you know, we always hear these people that built them in 1990 or whatever, and we didn't have the regulations, but they're all there. And I look at the lot and I think that's a pretty good sized lot. It's not as if like he's limited to space or whatever, and so it's not fair to everybody then, because then why don't we just ignore all of these applications? We'll make some kind of motion at council, we'll change it so you can do whatever you want in the MD of Bonnyville. As long as your neighbor's not upset, you get a letter from your neighbor and you're good to go. Like, there's regulations for a reason. I mean, one of them was fire code stuff, but I don't think it's fair that we just kind of continually just say, well, okay, no problem.
Was this garage built on a foundation or like a flat pad? cement pad, or is it on skids, or, don't know?
We don't have that information yet, as a building permit has not been received, because that is the second step in this type of process. It does look at like it's a potential slab, but without those plans, I cannot say for sure.
Yeah, Counselor Fadeo?
Yeah, part of the issue I have is people that have, come to our planning, department, and have asked permission, and have denied. I've had a few complaints going, they can't build there because it's too close and everything else. I'm like, well, those are the rules. So, we're kind of backhandedly just telling them, in a way, they shouldn't have gone through the process, but just build it in and they would have got, approved. And that's not right either, because all these other people have spent the money of getting it surveyed and everything else, and they've, I guess, abided by the rules. And I think that's the way we should go.
Counselor Subcheck?
Do we know what the reason was given for not coming forward for a development permit at the beginning?
Through the chair to Councillor Slipchuk, he did not actually express why he did not come to planning and development. In looking at our land use bylaw, we actually do have a penalty that we could, if the council did want to approve this, section 29.7 of our land use bylaw, we do have a penalty of $1,500 for commencing development prior to obtaining development permit, first contravention for a residential development.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
I'd rather waive the penalty because it's going to cost them that much to move the garage.
Yeah, Counselor Crevier?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if this is not approved, how far would he have to move that garage?
As per the land use bylaw, because he is over that 20,000 square foot threshold, he would have to move it to 4.5 meters from the property line unless a variance for less was received.
I can just say, as someone with a carpentry background in building, it's moving a building is not a, and I think that building is on a slab. That's not a practical option, really. So it's.
I'll make a motion that we approve this with the penalty, the penalty that you mentioned.
Okay, we'll just wait for the motion to come up here.
This just means
Yeah, the CAO.
Mr. Chair, oh, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Of course, obviously, this is the Development Authority's decision, the council's decision. I would just ask council to consider the precedent's been setting, that they would set by this, that essentially now another applicant or another property could be found to be in non-conformance, and because we've now setting a precedent, if council moves in that direction, that I'm not sure people will build and then come to us afterwards. And they'll have the argument, and rightfully so, that council is approving them, so why can't I get away with it as well? I do believe there's some inequity for those who have gone through the proper process. The council would approve somebody who didn't go through the proper process, and we're creating two separate classes of developments.
Yeah,
Anyway.
other than that, there's a penalty for this one, but go ahead.
Yeah, but Mr. Chair, then it's not a big penalty. Like, I would go tell everybody else, then go ahead, do what you want, pay the fine. I mean, that's what you're doing. That's what we're saying right now.
Well-
Don't worry about the bylaws, because we're gonna bend down to you and fine you $1,000, but big deal. I'd pay $1,000 fine.
I would want to pay a $1,500 fine. You'll just,
So can you just maybe tell us the process a bit about if it was denied, and what would be the next steps for him I mean, how, I guess, at the end of the day, if you said, okay, you have to move it, I mean, is it up to him, I guess, to move it then, or how would that all play out?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Scarson. We would, if it was refused, we would ask him to move it. We can enforce the fine without this permit being approved, because that is part of the process. If the landowner does not comply with moving it and getting his building permit, we could also get safety codes involved, and safety codes can write an order. We can proceed by putting a stop order on the property, and if it escalates far enough, we can get a court injunction to correct the issue ourselves, and then put the amount of money that we spend on their tax roll.
And then at the end of the day, the garage will still be where it is.
No, if we get to a stop order, there's still no compliance, we can actually go to the courts to get an injunction for us to do the work to relocate the building, and whatever money we spend on correcting this issue, we would put on the tax roll.
And have we done this before? Have we ever asked anyone to move their buildings and they've done it?
Well, not to the setbacks, but we did have a landowner in Fort Kent relocate their garage door just recently.
Okay, I'll read the motion out here, then we can have more discussion afterwards if we want. So it's moved by Councillor Slivchuk that council approves development permit application number 2024-D-040 for a front yard variance from 7.6 meters to 6.1 meters, and an east side yard variance from 4.5 meters to 0.76 meters for an existing garage within southeast 765 west of the 4th, as a discretionary use pursuant to Part 3, Section 20, and Part 7, Section 71.2 of the Land Use Bylaw for George Harleton, with application of a penalty for contravention of Section 12.1 of the Land Use Bylaw, number 1667, pursuant to Section 29.7 of the Land Use Bylaw. Okay, any further discussion on the motion? Yeah, Councillor Scarson, and then Councillor Fadeo.
I guess I'm just a little bit torn because, you know, I'm trying to think if I would have approved this if it had come to council beforehand or not. I'm guessing the recommendation probably back then would have been to not approve it as well, because it was, looks like there's lots of room on this piece of property, right? I mean, I'm not trying to put you on the spot or anything, but I'm just trying to think in my head if I would have done it, but I don't want to get into a battle of him having to move and us going to court. I mean, that just seems like a lot of extra work as well, so I'm a little bit, I don't like the way he's done it, for sure. I know it's happening all over the place, and we've had these discussions before. So I'm still not sure I'm gonna vote.
Councillor Fadeo?
I think we're always there to work with people. We just had the application before this, you know, that somebody did apply, and they were, you know, they got some guidance. It came here, you looked at it, you go, okay, there's no neighbor on this side, you know, there's a field system on this side, you know, it makes sense to build it, and let's, you know, we approved it. This is no different. I mean, we could have said, okay, instead of going 2.5 feet from the fence line, maybe do 10 or 15, but just to build it, and then just, I mean, the previous person, you know, ahead of this one did do the proper process, and if we approve this, yeah, we're sending two different messages, right? So, I just, yeah, I mean, there's an investment, guaranteed. It's probably a slab underneath. It's probably a nice place, but just, you know, it's a risk that if I was building this, that's a risk I wouldn't take.
Councillor Swaggart?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I agree. I think I've had people in my ward ask, and they've come to council and asked for variances on things, and we've refused it. And so, you know, now what do I tell these people? You know, you're not as special or something or whatever. I'm not sure. You can't do that. You can't you're gonna keep doing this because we're doing it way too often, and it just sets that precedent. Like, I'll never refuse anybody now, because how can you?
Yeah, another point here to make though about this is, we're talking, they could have come and asked, I think, within our bylaws for a variance of up to 1.5 meters from the side yard, and they've gone 0.76, I think. Is that- Yeah, 0.76 meters, so we're talking less than 3 feet. So if they applied within the bylaws, we would have approved, we could have potentially approved, just like we did the previous one here, a bylaw, we could have approved it for, and it would have been less than 3 feet different than what we're talking right now, so if we're thinking of making a guy move a garage 3 feet, he can apply for a regular variance and move it over 3 feet or less than 3 feet. I don't think that's really, has a whole lot of point, especially when we're giving him a fine anyways, or in the motion here, yeah. Counselor Kubiak.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think people are going to keep on doing this, so maybe we should increase the penalty from 1,500 to whatever. That could be another option to consider for a future committee of the whole, whatever.
Any further discussion? All right, we'll call for the vote. Okay, that's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we will, yeah, Counselor Fadeo.
Yeah, could we bring in the policy back on the, on the fines? So we can see if we can have some further discussion about raising the fine, or having an increase on the fines?
Through the chair to Councilor Dave, we certainly can. I believe the fines are embedded in the land use bylaw and in the master rates bylaw, so that it would be a bylaw change. But we can certainly bring that at a future date.
Okay, thank you.
Do we need a motion towards that? No.
No, we have the request. We'll make plans to bring that back to council.
Okay.
Several councilors have requested that now, so we'll make sure we bring that back.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to 9.2.1.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So administration is seeking approval for a roadway license bylaw number 1852, authorizing the MD of Bonnyville into an agreement to license the road allowance north of the north half of 3658 of 8 in accordance with policy number 3A.018, as shown on the map on Appendix A. The applicants have applied to license the road allowance to be used as agricultural use for grazing of cattle. Council did give first reading on February 13th, 2024 at a regular meeting of council. Public notification was completed as per our licensing of roadways policy and the MD of Bonnyville public notification bylaw. No written concerns were received. We did receive a concern that some recent clearing of vegetation had occurred on the proposed lease area, but its site inspection showed that this was not the case. So administration is recommending that council give second reading to bylaw number 1852, and furthermore, if carried, to proceed to third reading.
Okay, thank you. Looking for a motion.
I'll make the motion for second reading.
Okay, thank you, Counselor Fadeo, for moving that bylaw, number 1852, being a bylaw of the Municipal District of Bonnyville. Roadway licensing be given second reading. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Looking for third reading.
I'll make a motion for third reading.
Thank you, Counselor Slipchuk, for moving that bylaw number 1852 be given third reading. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. Okay, that's carried. Yeah,
Perfect.
that's carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll go to 9.4.1. Council Code of Conduct bylaw.
Sorry, hello. Good morning. Okay. So we're bringing back the Council Code of Conduct bylaw for second and third reading. At the January 16th Committee of the Whole meeting, the bylaw was reviewed by the committee and requested administration to draft a new bylaw for consideration. This draft bylaw was reviewed by the Committee of the Whole on February 20th, 2024, and then given first reading on March 12th. So the changes that were made within the new bylaw are outlined on the report and were presented as part of the first reading report to council as well. Nothing in there has changed from what was presented for first reading. Attached for your review in Appendix A was the new proposed bylaw number 1860, Council Code of Conduct bylaw, as well as Appendix B, the current Code of Conduct bylaw number 1692. Administration's recommended action is that the bylaw number 1860, being a bylaw of the Municipal District of Bonnyville, number 87, to establish a code of conduct for members of council, be given second reading and subsequently third reading as well.
Okay. Thank you. Just looking for a motion here.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair. On the 5.3, it says, no member shall,
Yeah, okay, sorry.
that means member of council, give direction to the administration, including the chief administrative officer. But we always give direction to the CEO. So why is that clause in there?
Sorry, you said 5.3?
5.3, yeah.
Go ahead.
So that was from the previous bylaw. That's not a new clause to the bylaw. That was in the current bylaw as well.
Oh,
But I think the
current- oh.
intention there is to keep the direction within the bylaw in line with the MGA, which indicates that no individual councillor can give direction to including the CAO, because the CAO is the employee of council as a whole. Council as a whole can certainly give the CAO direction, but in accordance with the MGA, an individual councillor should not be giving direction without the support of council as a whole.
Individual councillor can give direction to the CEO? Well, I always do that.
The intention is that you would have the support of council as a whole to do that. But it's part of the MGA. I'd have to look up which section specifically, but yes.
Could you explain that, Mr. Hogan, or I don't understand that?
Thank you, Mr. Members Council. Well-established practice in Alberta, the CAO works for council. And I think it's a scope issue. If a councillor calls me and says, hey, I've got a small pothole in front of a resident's house, can you guys take a look at it? That's one thing, but if a councillor could give direction, could a councillor come to me and say, I want 3 miles of road paved in front of my house? So it's a scope thing, but well-established in the provinces, the CAO works for council. And even with the pothole issue, the CAO would be well inside their rights to say, I'd need a resolution of council to move that forward.
Oh, yeah, that's different, yeah.
Councilor Fadave, do you have something? No.
Yeah,
Okay.
I had a couple more here.
Yeah, go ahead, Councilor Fabian.
Oh, yes, one more, sorry.
Nope.
18.5A. 18.5A. It says, in the event that quorum cannot be maintained due to members abstaining in accordance with section 18.5 of this bylaw, council shall vote in favor of the recommendations provided by the investigator. So if there's no quorum, like how can you pass something with no quorum?
So that means that if quorum were to be lost to address the complaint, then this clause would allow all of council to participate, but the requirement would be that you would all vote in favor of the recommendation of the investigator.
So if there's no quorum, you can still pass that, whatever it is.
Well, you would have quorum because this clause would allow, even if you were, for whatever reason, implicated in the complaint, that you would still be able to vote in order to maintain quorum. But the requirement under this bylaw would be that you would vote in favor of the recommendation of the investigator.
So, one last thing, 18.1, so all complaints have to be written by the complainant? It has to be written
Yes, they will need to be in writing.
with the name of the person complaining on, they have to sign it, right?
The person making the complaint may not necessarily be the one to draft it, but yes, they would need to be signing it. We will not be, this bylaw would not allow any anonymous complaints to be
Would
submitted.
not allow what?
It would not allow any anonymous complaints to
Oh,
be
yeah,
submitted.
that's what I mean.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Go ahead, Councillor Fadeo.
I was just going to make the motion for second reading.
Okay. Okay. Moved by Councillor Fadeo that bylaw number 1860, being a bylaw of the Municipal District of Bonnyville, number 87, to establish a code of conduct for members of council, be given second reading. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, call for the vote. That's carried. Just looking for a motion for third reading.
I'll make the motion for third reading.
Thanks, Councillor Fadeo, for moving that bylaw number 1860 be given third reading. Okay, any discussion?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So in the end, the council polices council. That's what it means, right?
You mean, sorry, can you repeat that?
At the end, if there's an issue, council polices council.
Well, you bring in a third-party investigator to investigate and provide a report, but ultimately, it has to be it has to be imposed through council resolution if there's any sanctions to be imposed. So, the MGA does not allow anyone other than council to do that.
Is that,
Mr. Chair?
yeah,
Sorry.
go ahead, Councillor Slager.
And I think I read, though, also that it is council has to make that final decision.
Yes, it has to. be
And they
through
don't
council.
have to agree to the arbitrator if they choose not to.
That's correct. You're not, in this bylaw specifically, you're not required to follow the recommendation of the investigator, if you don't want to.
So that just kind of makes, we talked a minute ago, though, about if there was, if you didn't have quorum, the 3 members or 4 members or whatever, if there was 3 there to vote, they have to vote in favor of the motion, though. But that's a council motion then,
It would
right?
still need to be a council motion, correct?
okay.
But I got that from a few of other municipalities and their code of conduct bylaws, and it's my understanding that the intention with that is it helps to continue to eliminate any perception of bias among council with the complaint. If there's not enough people to make quorum, then everyone can participate, but the ones that should have recused themselves will have to vote in favor of the recommendation of the investigator. And that's to eliminate that perception of bias.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, we'll call for the vote. Okay, that's carried. Okay, it was brought to my attention that I missed 9.3.1, the corporate credit card policy, so we're going to back up and go to that one. Sorry about that, Susan.
Good morning, council.
Morning.
I just thought you might not want to deal with this. So this request for decision, administration has prepared policy number C-2B.042, corporate credit card policy for council's approval. The policy provides guidelines for the control of corporate credit card usage for MD business purposes. Attached for your review is the policy, and the policy did go through committee of the whole with recommendation for council approval. Of course, it'll be posted on the MD website under council agenda for today's date. So again, the recommendation is that council adopts new policy number C-2B.042, corporate credit card policy as recommended by the committee of the whole. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have, should there be any.
Okay, any questions or looking for a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Slipchuk that council adopts new policy number C-2B.042, corporate credit card policy as recommended by the committee of the whole. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. Okay, thank you, that's carried.
Thank you.
Do we have time for 9.42 before, okay, we'll go on to 9.42 then.
Hello again.
Hello.
So policy number 2A.026, municipal policy and procedures policy, came up for a scheduled review in 2024, following which administration has prepared amending draft for council's consideration attached as Appendix A. The amendments proposed for this policy are mostly formatting and changing the verbiage for legislation to also accommodate the use of CAO directives and administrative policies for operational efficiency and effectiveness in implementing council's direction. The Committee of the Whole reviewed these amendments on February 20th and are recommending that council adopt the amended policy as presented.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Looking for a motion here?
Yeah, I'll make the motion as requested by the committee.
Okay. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Fadeev that council adopts amending policy number C2A 0.26 or 0.026, municipal legislation policy, formerly known as municipal policy and procedures policy, as recommended by the committee of the whole. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. Okay, that's carried.
Thank you.
Okay, 9.4.3. And that's,
Sorry.
you're the expert. Let's hear what you got to say.
So we're just wanting to bring forward with Reeve Kolinsky's absence. The MGA only allows a member of council to be absent for so many meetings before potentially being disqualified from council. So with Reeve Kolinsky's absence, we're just looking for a motion of council today at your discretion, authorizing his extended absence due to the events that have occurred over the last couple months.
Yeah, Councillor Fadeev.
Yeah, I'll make the motion for the extended absence, please.
Okay. Just wait for that to come up here. Okay, moved by Councillor Fadeev that council, in accordance with the Municipal Government Act, Chapter M26, Section 174, 2, hereby authorizes Reeve Kolinsky's absence from regular meetings of council until further notice. Any discussion? Okay, we'll call for the vote. That's carried, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna take a short break here, and we have a delegation at 10 o'clock.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, welcome back. We have a delegation, Forestry and Parks, Land Delivery, Lower Athabasca Region. You guys can come on up.
Morning.
Morning.
Thank you for, first of all, for, approaching Alberta Forestry and Parks with regards to your interest in our dock and mooring policy. Myself and Cody are here. And, with the amount of time a presentation would have taken around more time than we're allowed. So I think it would be better if we just, have a brief introduction of why the policy was put in place, where we're at now with the policy, and where it's going to be in the future. So with that said, I'm going to let Cody have a microphone to present. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Cody Naherniak. I'm a lands team lead. I'm out of the Camrose office, and I also chair a bed and shore working group that the department has, where we work on all sorts of bed and shore issues, including all the mooring work that's happened in the last couple of years. So, like Neil said, we kind of thought that we'd start with a real brief intro, and then I understand there are some questions, and so we'll just go into the questions then, and that'll be most of our time. So, looking back a little bit, in 2011, the Public Lands Administration regulation came into effect, and one of the things that PLAR, that's what we call it, that PLAR did, was it introduced this rule that any occupation of public land for 14 days or longer required permission. And that was aimed primarily at random camping in the eastern slopes, but turns out it applies to mooring, the docks and boat lifts and things like that that are placed on the bed and shore of the lakes, that is occupying public land. And so since 2011, it has been a requirement under the Public Lands Act that all this mooring gets permission. And so we really, we didn't do a lot of that for a while. There is a significant amount of mooring in the province, as you guys are probably aware. There's a lot just in this county itself. In 2020, though, we put out the word that these activities did require permission under the Public Lands Act, and but we didn't go looking for trouble. We dealt with applications as they came in from people who had learned about it online or through whatever resources, and they came to us to get permission for their moorings, and we dealt with complaints that came in, neighbors fighting about docks and things like that. And then in 2021, we released the disturbance standard for mooring. And it's got a long, complicated name, but for short, we just call it the Mooring Disturbance Standard or the Dock Disturbance Standard. And that disturbance standard had gone through 2 rounds of public engagement before it was released. And it is a streamlined regulatory tool that, similar to a code of practice, says as long as you can meet all the requirements of the standard, and all the requirements, then there is a general permission created by this disturbance standard that gives you permission to put the dock out. And so that was April of 2021, and so that it's a misconception, but since that time there have been 2 ways that people have gotten their required permissions for their mooring: the disturbance standard, or to apply for an actual permission from the department, whether it's a formal disposition like a DLO or some kind of a lease, or an authorization or an approval issued under what we call a temporary field authorization. That is, there is an actual formal application process, and that gets submitted to the department, and there is a review and a formal decision that is made about the application. And some of them we approve and some of them we don't. And with those applications, that's led to a number of questions from many municipalities, possibly yourselves as well, because there is a requirement where, as part of the application, anything that comes in involving municipal land adjacent to the lake, we do require written consent from the waterfront landowner. And that is yourselves when the municipality owns the reserve land. The reason for the consent is, as the waterfront holder, you guys have the ability to put out a dock yourself under the disturbance standard at that location. And the act of putting out the dock almost always involves alteration of the land adjacent to the lake, whether it's for a trail or clearing trees or building a beach or a picnic area or anything like that. There are often associated activities on the land adjacent to the lake that go along with docks. And so, for a number of reasons, this consent is a requirement so that we know that when this person comes to us applying for a dock, that the county whose land is being used and the county who cannot put a dock out at that location is okay with the proposed application and supports it. And so if the county supports the application, we factor that into our decision as to whether or not we are going to agree to that application that comes to us. So it is not, and having had the conversation with a few other municipalities, there is an idea that we have said that the counties are need to make a decision about mooring. That's not really accurate. We make the decision as to whether or not to agree to the mooring that's being proposed. All we ask is to know whether or not the county has made a decision or is okay with the use of their land associated with that mooring. And we factor that in to our decision ourselves. So
I think we have a question here for you. Go ahead, Councillor Swaggart.
Yeah, thanks. I sorry, Mr. Your name was
Cody.
Cody, and you're Neil, are you? Yeah, Dana Swaggart. We've talked a bit. So I guess one of my concerns is we've sort of misunderstood. The MD has to authorize someone to cross the MR, and so I guess they write you a letter saying, yeah, we're okay. But I don't think we actually, like there's no discussion, with the council or anything, so it's just sort of somebody in planning or whatever writes a letter saying we're okay with it, but we've never kind of had that kind of discussion of what are we okaying, so I mean, there's issues at some of these lakes where lots of docks were put in place with kind of no authorization, and then there's complaints put in, and so I'm not sure about if we can work a little closer with you though when we say okay, because I don't think and I'll ask our administrator, but I don't think our planning people actually go out to a lake and when they get the request from a resident, I don't think we go out there and look and see that maybe there's already 5 docks there and we're saying okay, and so maybe we're making it worse. I'm not sure, Mr. CAO, how involved we are in the okay kind of part of it.
Through the chair to Councillor Swaggart and the rest of council, for clarity, we've always been under the opinion that we are only approving access through the MR to the bed and shore. How many docks are there would be technically irrelevant to planning staff, because we're only approving the access of that applicant to the bed and shore. Nothing more, nothing less. How many docks, if there were 10 docks there and somebody wanted an 11th dock, it doesn't matter. Our planning staff would look at whether or not it was appropriate to give approval to the access to the bed and shore, or to the through the MR. What happens on the other side, on the provincial side of our MR, is a provincial issue. It has nothing to do with us. That is their jurisdiction to approve the dock. We're only approving access through the MR. Nothing more, nothing less. I believe we're in 100% agreement.
I'd like to speak on this point. You're exactly correct. The MR or the ER is designated land that's not crown. So part of the disturbance standard and the TFA application is that you have consent from the landowner. With that being said, based on the disturbance standards, there are spacings that are allowed along the beachfront where these are being, proposed. And there is a carrying capacity of that water frontage that could only allow so many docks. So with the understanding that, as Cody had mentioned, the process is, there are checklists on this TFA. And one of the checklists is the consent. And it's still, the burden is still on the lands officer to review and to make a decision. So based on the familiarity with that area and how many TFAs they've already issued, and again, the disturbance standard does come into consideration because there are semi-waterfront property owners that have a dock there. So with that taken into consideration, you take the history of that particular area, see if there is room for that other one, and that's your decision to. Is there enough room to have this other dock put in place? What we have been doing is we're encouraging people to have multifamily docks, community docks per se. And that allows a little bit more breathing room on the waterfront for beaches and that, because you don't want to have, stacked docks. You want people to be able to enjoy swimming, et cetera, So that's pretty much how the decisions are being made and how your consent letter falls into play in the application process. Have I answered your question?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's still kind of a learning thing for us, and I think I talked to you recently, and you said the TFA now has to be done every year?
Yes.
Okay, so it's going to just make it a little tougher for us then, because every one of these docks then has a number, apparently, if they've applied, and they have a TFA for that year, so they will come back to the MD then, I imagine, every year and ask for another crossing agreement, and then that gets forwarded to you and you approve another, or the same dock?
How you write your consent letter, if you want to have a consent for multiple years, that's totally up to yourself. The burden is upon the applicant to provide us with the consent letter. So, trust me, being the third year of an annual, we just understand that, unless the county or the municipality says, no, there is no consent, then there's no consent and you have to, reapply. And part of the formula for that is if a house is sold, all right, that consent letter no longer means anything because that resident isn't there anymore. So they do require a new consent letter. So those are the, one of the things that I guess you could, work amongst yourselves. If you feel comfortable giving somebody a multi-year consent letter, that's up to yourselves. As long as they meet our checklist and that consent is provided, that is to move forward with the issuance of the TFA.
Okay, so just to clarify then, so the MD could actually write multi-year consent letters, so they don't have to come back every year, but they still have to come to you guys every year, though, to get approval again?
Yes.
Okay. Well, probably, I mean, your job is going to be harder, but maybe ours could be a little bit simpler, I guess, is if we can do that, yeah. I think maybe I'm one of the guys that has the most kind of issues with some of the lakes, when, I don't know, maybe Councillor Fadave has something?
Yeah, we have a lot of shore here, and so just a quick question. So how did your office get ready for the new, I guess, applications or new rules? Did you guys hire more staff, or are the deadlines a little longer? I know Coal Lake, the city of Coal Lake, had a lot of complaints about people walking along that probably went to your office about docks being put on to the ER and all that. So how was that dealt with as far as staffing?
In regards to resourcing, there has been no additional resources provided in order to do the mooring. The dock disturbance standard theoretically covers 60%, if not more, of all the mooring that's out there, at least in theory, because the disturbance standard does allow for waterfront and what we call semi-waterfronts to they would be covered by that general permission if they meet all the requirements of the standard. Waterfront is a property that borders directly on the lake, and a semi-waterfront is a property that is separated from the lake by municipal parcel.
ER and MR and all that stuff, yeah, for sure. Yeah, because we have a lot of like recreational users that don't live in the MD, that are, you know, in wherever, Calgary, Edmonton, and so on and so forth, that when they come in, they only have, you know, like a limited time. So I think maybe, I guess that's the, you know, those are some of the issues where they come in and the lake's starting to freeze up and the weather changes. And so instead of, you know, grabbing the mooring system or the docking system, instead of, you know, putting it on their land, they don't have the time or the ability to do that. So then maybe, so those are maybe some of the main reasons for the complaints is there's a dock on the shore. What are you guys going to do about it? And I said nothing, so I just point them to your.
So if there is an issue with the dock in the bed and shore of the lake, that is our concern. If the complaint is related to storage of docks on the reserve land, that's a municipal issue.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Did you guys have more of your presentation, or did we catch you right at the end of the question?
If you have questions, please.
Okay. Any other questions here?
No, I just appreciate you coming, but I kind of think that, I'm not sure if the rest of them have had the issues with calls from, you know, people complaining, and I guess just to make sure we can get it right, because I did have a complaint about a year ago where a guy had applied for a crossing agreement and it took a year. It took a year for our municipality to give him a crossing agreement. So I think it just kind of got missed and sat in a desk or something, but, so it would have had nothing to do with you guys, I guess, because you can't, you know, process a TFA until you get the permission from us, so.
Yeah, if the application involves municipal land, then it's an incomplete application if it doesn't come with consent. So either it'll sit and we wait for the consent, or we reject it and send it back.
And I guess I will follow up with this one, though, because an MR or an ER, I mean, anybody, well, let's talk an MR, because anybody can cross an MR. It's like, that's Mr. CAO, an MR is an MR. It's municipal land that we allow people to recreate on or whatever. And so, yeah, why do you need a letter from us saying that they can actually cross this, because they could do it anyway?
So the thing to keep in mind, what we were aware of before and what we've definitely had confirmed to us in the last few years is when it comes to mooring, the activities on the adjoining land adjacent to the lakes is not just crossing. It is clearing trees. It is cutting grass. It is setting up picnic tables. It is storage of the docks once they pull it out of the water. A lot of those things have nothing to do with us because they're not occurring on our land. There are some municipalities that have seen this as an opportunity to try to get some of their control back over their own lands. People have kind of helped themselves for decades. I don't know if that's an issue in this particular MD. I don't know, but I know it is an issue in other places. And so if it was just a matter of walking across the land, then it's not really an issue for us, and perhaps the existing legislation could be enough, but that's not what's happening. And as an example, there are instances where there will be public land adjacent to a water body, where occasionally we are asked if mooring is acceptable there, and the thing is for us, well, that access across the upland, public land, needs permission before they can apply for the dock, because we need to know what are they doing on our upland, and they will be planting something. They have to. Unless you've got grass straight down, then in order to put the dock in, take the dock out, there is a degree of alteration that's involved. And so public land, where there is public land adjoining to a lake, is not covered by the disturbance standard, because we have flagged that specifically needs review. We specifically want to see what's being proposed on the public land adjoining the lake. so.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys coming. Thank you.
One last thing, just eventually, we are working right now on a directive related to mooring that kind of explains this a little bit better. It is an internal directive, but we do expect that it will get out into the public, and there will be some fact sheets that come along with it. And there is a municipal fact sheet that has been drafted up that should come out with this package, and it does speak a little bit to municipal roles in our process, because it has been a point of confusion for a lot of municipalities. And just so you're not surprised when it does come out, it primarily focuses on talking about the consent, which is related to the municipality's role as the waterfront owner. There is a little bit of a blurb, though, about the municipality's role as the local government and their planning abilities if the municipality wants to do that. It's not a requirement. We just flag that, as a local government, with being closer to these communities, being closer connected to your individual ratepayers in the subdivisions and stuff like that, you might be in a position where, and you might be interested in getting involved somewhat in the planning about what locations are good for different kinds of mooring. As Neil had mentioned, we're kind of encouraging the use of community docks and shared docks over individual docks. There just is not room for everyone to have a dock. And so in order to accommodate more people, community docks and shared docks are really the only option. But we don't plan that. The only time this stuff comes to us is through applications. So if the counties want to be involved and talk to their ratepayers and figure out, well, in this area we have a bunch of semi-waterfront lots and they can all, we encourage or we support the idea that they all have individual docks, but over here we want to do a couple community docks and stuff like that, then that is something that is available to the municipalities, and there's even a tool called a mooring plan. It is a municipal planning tool. Some municipalities are doing it, primarily some are villages, I think, more than the rural municipalities. But it's kind of your plan that we review with you, and then we would factor that into our decisions as well. So.
Our CAO has a comment here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I could ask Councillor Swigert to pass me the information on that individual who suggested it took that long. Just want to make sure our levels of service are being provided. So if you could get that to me, that would be fantastic, and I can look into it.
Yeah, for sure.
Councillor Fadeev has something as well here.
Yeah, thanks again for coming. You guys are probably familiar with Marie Lake subdivision. So Marie Lake was gifted by the province to the MD of Bonnyville. So the subdivision is a very special place because we get all the houses, we get to tax the houses, but we have no ability to help them any further with drainage, and there's an application for a disposition on some of the lands in between the actual housing where we could help them along. And I think last 2 years ago, you guys had quite a blitz out there with the sheriffs and their mooring and everything else. Since that is public lands, that is completely yours because we have nothing to do with any of that. Is that correct?
Yeah, that particular situation was brought to a higher level for discussion, and I believe at the end of the day, working with the MD of Bonnyville, we agreed that any temporary field authorization would be expedited so that we could have that drainage put in place so that you wouldn't have that reoccurring flooding and that would happen. Now, I can't remember exactly who was involved in that, but I believe Conrad Shipberg was
Chip Clark, yeah.
Shipberg was involved, and on our end, it was John Murray.
Nice.
So that was the conversation that was had, and that was delegated to myself that, when a storm plan was developed, that any of the, authorizations that would be needed would be ran through myself, and we would get them expedited.
For sure. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, so it's really weird because when you go down into the water, there's like a little bit of a, I guess, almost like a mole that comes up that prevents the water from going into the lake.
Right.
And it backs up, and there's been a lot of difference of opinion between neighbors. But yeah, thanks for dealing with all that.
Yeah,
And
again, we work very well with the MD of Bonneville, and to maintain that level of cooperation, feel free to reach out to me at any time.
awesome. Okay, appreciate it. Thank you very much, guys.
Any other questions? All right, well, thanks Neil and Corey for coming, or Cody.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, just looking for a motion to receive this information.
Sure, I'll make the motion, please.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Fadeev. Let's see here. Okay, it's moved by Councillor Fadeev that council accepts the presentation by the Lands Office for Forestry and Parks Lands Delivery, Lower Athabasca Region as information. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll call for the vote. That's carried, thank you. All right, we'll move to our next delegation for the Hearts for Healthcare. Thanks for coming in today.
Thank you for having us. I'm Jennifer Corey-Lee. I'm president for Hearts for Healthcare, and this is Carrie Leeper. She's our executive director. It's nice to be back in front of you again this year. On May 4th, we will be having our annual fundraising gala, which is our biggest fundraising event. Our intention with it is to support local health care in the Cold Lake area, which supports the MD of Bonnyville with the healthcare services for your constituents. Last year was our most successful gala, and part of that was with your support of our event, and we're hoping to have as successful of a year this year. This year we have $207,000 worth of requests for equipment and other fundraising currently ongoing. And so part of these requests, some have already been granted and other ones will be worked towards during this fundraising at the gala. And so we are coming here to ask you today to continue the partnership that you have with us through the grant that was provided several years ago that is supporting the recruitment of a physician this year again, and hopefully with some of the changes that are upcoming within the province and within the associations associated with medical care in the province, that will be having more healthcare providers coming into the area. The AMA has made some or the College of Physicians has made some changes that will allow easier recruitment for physicians, and there is hope that the nurse practitioners will be getting direct remuneration from the province. That might be increasing the number of nurse practitioners that we can recruit into our area to provide services. So we're hoping that we have the ability to support our community this year through a great fundraising event. This year, along with the grant that was already provided and provides $20,000 towards the recruitment and retention, we are also asking for your superior level support of $15,000 towards equipment. This year, our community appeal is towards a focus on women's health care. So this is for equipment to support the PCNs and also to support the ability to do laparoscopic surgeries in women's health through our obstetrician, Dr. Madavi. This would allow women who cannot tolerate an open abdominal surgery, pelvic surgery, to have a surgery that is minimally invasive, and then they wouldn't have to travel to the city, thus decreasing the amount of travel for our our constituents in this MD, and decreasing the burden on family that has to travel with them. So we know that travel to Edmonton can be quite expensive with the cost of hotels, gas, food, and then family members having to take time off work, which affects our economy. So if we can keep as many healthcare services within the community as possible, then we increase our economic benefit to the community. And then it also will help us retain Dr. Madavi's services in the area, as this will allow her to become busier and have a greater OR schedule, which we are hoping to help her do so that she's able to remain in our community and provide the services that she's already providing and more in the future. And as Cold Lake and the area of MD expand within the economy with all of the projects that are projected over the next several years, we definitely need to keep services and expand them within the community. And those are sort of the major things. We have several other equipment purchases that we are fundraising for. They're seen in the package there that was provided before our delegation. And if you guys have any questions towards it, we'd be happy to answer them.
There is a second and a third part to that. It's attendance for the gala.
Yes, sorry.
So with that package, you do receive 2 tables, which is 16 seats. So we're hoping that you guys are able to attend and fill those spots. And then there's an in-kind contribution of a couple silent auction items that has to do with Kinisty Ridge and an MD campground package as well.
Which have always been really successful in our silent auctions, so that we are hoping that you'll provide those. It gives every level of our community the opportunity to support us. So while we're asking you guys for a large donation, we like to give our community members who attend the opportunity to support us through these things. And so I think we hit every level of our community when we're asking for fundraising through the small asks and the big asks. And I think that this is one of the social sort of events of the year in Cold Lake and in the MD. So you guys help us make it successful every year, and we hope you will continue to do so this year.
I think Councillor Faddeev had.
Thank you. I mean, we've supported the Bonnyville and the Cold Lake one on a regular basis. Thanks for that. I think the sparkle in the park was amazing this year for you guys. That was fantastic. Wasn't so cold as it was.
No.
You guys still have your feet.
Yes.
So a little more snow would have been great.
Yeah.
But I just looking at your wish list, and this is kind of, I guess, reiterating what I asked last year is you know, I caution you guys of just really fulfilling the wish list because this is more downloading from the province and from AHS. You know, we we're at an RMA. You function in here in Edmonton, and we heard Mr. LaGrange saying that groups like yourself have raised millions of dollars. That's millions of dollars that's been downloaded to us. Yeah, I just look at your wish list of number 10. You know, is it a stethoscope? Like, that shouldn't be on a wish list.
And we do agree with that, and we actually have many more requests that have been brought to us, and we have sent it back saying that absolutely not. These are requirements of AHS to maintain functioning. Some things that are smaller, and it seems like, why do we buy these things? Sometimes it's for expediency, and sometimes it's because wear and tear happens, and they've already requested some pieces of equipment previously in the year, and things happen. And so we are trying to just elevate the experience of our healthcare staff. We're trying to do things that make it less frustrating for them to work here, because we do know that the level of healthcare we get in rural communities does not match what happens in urban centers, and that has been an ongoing conversation with us. We're actually going to take part in about 2 to 3 weeks' time, a discussion with AHS that they're having with all of the philanthropy groups.
Yeah.
Sorry, cannot spit that word out today. In the province, and we are going to bring that up. As many of you know, when you see me in other events talking about healthcare, I'm not quiet in my opinion about how things are managed and what we need for rural healthcare. My role in being in Hearts for Healthcare is that I do want to advocate for change and bring to light some of the issues that we see. And I think Hearts for Healthcare is a really good center for that voice, because we have connections with our community members, both just constituents, the MD of Bonnyville, the city of Cold Lake. I'm involved in healthcare myself as a nurse practitioner through the base, and I've worked in Cold Lake and other rural municipalities as a nurse in the past, and so I've seen the challenges. And I think that the work we do, well, the perfect world, we wouldn't exist, I think is probably the answer, but we do exist because we know there are challenges within a community, and I think that we've offered some solutions that support the initiatives that our healthcare services have taken on their own to provide the services that we need, that are not delegated from the province, that this is what a community will provide. We've seen a lot of great initiatives that we help create for our community. And so, yes, I do completely understand your point, but I also believe that we have been very diligent in assessing what has been asked for by different
I think Hearts for
community
Healthcare
groups.
also has a unique opportunity because we aren't restricted to strictly what Alberta Health Services, I guess, dictates that, you know, we buy these capital equipment things for specifically the hospital. And we're allowed to open that up to the PCN, Community Health Services, Cold Lake First Nations Health Center, and also the outreach clinic at Elizabeth Métis Settlement. So we really have that unique opportunity that we get to support the entire community and you know, provide them with these pieces of equipment that are maybe not necessarily essential service, but go above and beyond to make their jobs easier, increase the level of service, and then I guess
No, I totally think it's very essential, and that is my point.
Yeah.
It is very essential, and it's something that they should be, I mean, if it's easier to ask, good, but, you know, like, I'm there, I'm the bad guy at home.
Yeah.
My wife's the good one. So it's easier to ask my wife something versus
Yes.
asking me something. They're gonna, well, mom said yes, and you said no. So I think we got, you know, we have to be careful. So I mean, it's,
And we do push back and ask that if there's something that we see as an essential piece of equipment, that they are going back to their capital budget.
this is about 350,000,
Yeah.
actually.
yeah, we're very lucky with this minister because she's the first one that is not an urban resident. So I think, you know, we have her ear, and you know, if we need to lobby on your behalf at all of trying to get this
Yeah.
push a little further, that'd be great.
And I have been actually in touch with the MLA about that on behalf of Hearts for Healthcare and on behalf of the community in general as a nurse practitioner who sees the lack. And I feel like we've got a good rapport going on.
For sure, like say, I know there's been talks in the area that we did not get invited to.
Yeah.
So that to me doesn't sit well. Again, so in order for us to lobby on your behalf, we need
Yeah.
to be at the
And
table.
we appreciate that and are happy to reach out to you to receive your support and facilitate that. So, yeah, and so I appreciate your point. We do take it to heart, and we do actually turn down a lot of requests because we see them as inappropriate for what we do. And our requests are really not about the essential things that we should be provided for as a community by the provincial government as it is their responsibility to provide.
It's our job to advocate for that, for sure.
But we see our job as elevating healthcare. So these things elevate it, make it better. I think you can get the essential services, but I think we should be able to do more. And we have a lot of people in our healthcare community who are advocating for programs, and these things support them. The PCN initiatives truly have changed a lot in Cold Lake and the outside community. Our community appeal this year with the Elizabeth Settlement outreach program, I think will impact a lot of the members of the MD and really reach a lot of groups that actually can't get into services either in Cold Lake or Bonnyville.
I'm looking forward to the new map system announcement and how that's going to work out. So that's going to really impact our area. So I'm excited
Yeah.
about it. Thank you.
Should be interesting. The next month or so, we should have a few announcements that are very encouraging for healthcare, hopefully. They don't get delayed. Yeah. Any other questions?
Councilor Sawyer, no, I'm good. Yeah, Councilor Subcheck.
Yeah, I just want to say, I believe that you guys, as part, what you guys do plays a big, has a huge impact in keeping what staff we have in the area. So thank you guys for what you guys do. And hope we have a good fundraiser.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, well, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Unless there's any other questions? No, I think we're good. Thank you.
Have a good day.
All right, we're just looking for a motion. Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Kriviak, for moving that. Is that a motion? That council accepts the presentation by Hearts for Healthcare as information and furthermore directs administration to bring back the request for funding support for the 2024 annual Hearts for Healthcare Gala to a future meeting of council for consideration. Any discussion on the motion? That's 25 for that. Okay, call for the vote. Okay, that's carried, thank you. We'll go to 9.5.1, council invitations.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Council. The only invitation to speak of today is the Assumption Junior Senior High School graduation ceremony. The Assumption Junior Senior High School is hosting their 2024 graduation ceremony at 5 p.m. on May the 25th, 2024 in the Reed Fieldhouse at the Cold Lake Energy Center. They have invited the Reeve or delegate to attend the ceremony and have requested any greetings for the graduates be recorded digitally to be included in the ceremony. There is a copy of the invitation letter. It's at council discretion, and you can see the council options as well.
Okay. Just looking. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think for that invitation, I think we've done the recorded, I guess, greetings for the last little while. I think it'd be nice for somebody to attend in person this time around. So whether it's the Reeve deputy or myself, one of the, somebody should be there.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
If you would prefer, we can just modify the wording of option number 1 to authorize a member of council to attend, and then
Sure.
you guys can determine availability amongst yourselves, if
Yeah,
that's
let's do
better.
that. So we're just looking for somebody to make the motion then. Okay, thank you, Councillor Fadeo. So I'll just wait for the wording to come up here. Okay, thank you, Councillor Fadeo, for moving that council approves a member of council to attend the Assumption Junior High, Senior High School graduation ceremony to be held on May 25th, 2024. Any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Perfect. Okay, that's carried, thank you. We'll move on to 10, correspondence and information.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of council. You can see the list of correspondence in front of you, a fairly short list this week. Cold Lake First Nations, obviously, planning an expansion to Casino Dene. Email from Northern Woods and Water Highway Association, email from Leica, and there's a large package included in your council package regarding the Alberta Water Council report. Thank you from STARS, a letter from the town of Bonneville regarding the negotiation of the renegotiation of our ICF agreement. Check registry and the council action report.
Okay, just looking for a motion there.
Answer that question. So
Yep.
can you just explain more of this Northern Woods and Water Highway Association? I've never really heard of it before.
I actually don't know any more than what the letter indicates. It's an association we have not been a member of, and they're asking for us to join, and $3,000. We can certainly look into it a little deeper to find out whether there's value in joining that organization, absolutely. But as of today, we don't have any more than what the letter indicates.
I'd look forward to hearing more information on that, because with Highway 208 not getting done for a while, and I see if it'll help benefit us with tourism, because it's that back highway.
Administration certainly can do a little investigation and bring a report back to council.
Okay, thank you.
Another question I got is on
Yep.
the letter from Cold Lake First Nations. Like, could we respond to that? Like, I'd like to see us reply to their request of meet and have a meeting with council. They'd like to meet with us, and it'd be good to get together and start forming a relationship.
Okay. How do you want to go about that?
Through the chair, I would suggest council, if council would like a letter be sent, just make a motion to have administration draft a letter for council's approval regarding Casino Denny expansion and potential meeting.
Yeah, that'd be good for all council.
Okay, is that a motion?
Okay, to make a motion on that? Yeah, I'd like to make a
Okay.
motion on that.
Thank you, Councillor Subchuk. Okay,
Mr. Chair, just for clarity, is this a letter to request a meeting with Cold Lake First Nations?
Through the chair, I believe the letter would be congratulations on the proposed expansion, and we'd certainly like to get together and meet. So it'd be kind of a letter with both. Yeah.
This way we can discuss their expansion and what their plans are.
okay, it's moved by Councillor Subchuk that council directs administration to draft a letter from the Reeve to Cold Lake First Nations requesting a meeting to discuss their plans for expansion at Casino Denny. Okay, any discussion? Okay, not seeing none, we'll call for the vote. You know what, it's not showing up on my screen, so I'll just vote in favor. Okay,
Okay.
it's carried, thank you. Yeah, Councillor Subchuk?
I got another question about the town of Bonneville letter regarding ICF. I know it's not till 2026, but I don't believe we should just wait till the day comes and then have the discussion. I'd like to see the deputy Reeve and the Reeve start talking with the town and what our concerns are, what their concerns are, where we're going, try to come to some kind of an agreement before that date arrives. Like, let's not just leave it till the end on the ICF.
Okay,
If the town's willing, but I think we should push for that.
yeah, Councillor Fadeo?
Yeah, and, it was every few years, and there was a date placed by, it's called by the province, and I don't know why now it was extended to the 26th. I think that was for people that didn't have an agreement or a dateline, in place, but we did have one, and I think talk should start sooner than later is right.
Okay, yeah, CAO?
Through the Reeves Council, could add some clarity to the minister's order. The minister's order, there's a letter that came with it that's a bit more expansive than the pure order. However, the reason that the minister has made that order is there has been some, or they're about to be announced, some fairly major changes to the MGA regarding the ICFs and the arbitration piece. I don't want to get into too much detail on the arbitration because I don't know how it's worked for a lot of other municipalities, but I do know that there were issues, and the municipal affairs has determined that they need to make the arbitration process a little fairer, and that legislation is supposed to be announced sometime, probably later this spring or into the summer. And I think that's why they wanted ICFs to be held off, because if the new arbitration process comes in, it might change how many go to arbitration if they started working on the ice test today and came to a roadblock, the new arbitration that'll be announced in the MGA may impact positively how many municipalities end up in arbitration and what that arbitration would look like. So that's the reason for the delay. So.
Okay. Okay, so just looking for a motion, I think, for the rest of the correspondence. Okay.
Sure, I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Fadeev, for moving that council accepts the following correspondence information from 1 to 7. And we've, okay, any discussion on that? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. It's not on my screen, I'll vote here. Okay, that's carried, thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to reports from members of council. We'll start over on this end.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mountain Asha Conference. One thing came from there, there's going to be a review of the lodge system. Not really sure what, but there's going to be a review of the funding model, the policies governing the lodge operations, and lodge modernizing and capital development. I went to the RMA, and most of you guys were there. Had a Greater North Foundation meeting in Athabasca yesterday. We went through an audit, and they gave us the requisitions for the 14 municipalities that are part of that, and out of those 14, there's 8 summer villages. Our requisition was the only one that was less than 2023. All the others were greater than 2023 because our equalized assessment was lower. There's also a thing called the LAP grant, Lodge Assistance Program, where any senior in the lodge who makes less than $30,120, the government subsidizes $420. But now that LAP grant increased from $13.23 to $20.50 a day. So now the LAP grant will be $620 per month. So there's a concern that that's a steep jump for the seniors who are higher income. If you're $1 more than $30,120, then you have to pay the extra $620 per month. So not sure what's going to happen there. We had the ASB meeting. There were 843 coyotes and 34 wolves handed in. Provincial stats with regards to use of water. 46.6% of the water is used, is allocated through irrigation. Oil and gas is only 10%. Commercial 23.4%, MDs and counties 12%. There's going to be a rural summer beautification tour for the MD on August the 8th, and the registration fee is $25 per person. And then finally, we had the FCSS meeting. I think the last meeting, Mr. Chair, did you bring up the seniors transportation grant? No?
Yeah, I think we did
You
discuss
did?
that last meeting. You know what? No, we did actually. Yeah, I think I did.
We discussed the MD transportation grant. Everything stays the same except the mileage was increased to 30 cents per kilometer. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Subcheck.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I attended SiteLink, our first SiteLink organizational meeting, committee meeting. And what we're going to try to do is create relationships with individuals, organizations to influence site selection and support of investment to attract into the MD. So it's just our start, and I believe it's going to do well. I hope it does good for our community so we can maybe diversify our businesses. Then we attended RMA, and I had Bear Pit's session question for Minister Rebecca Schultz about water usage in the oil and gas industry and demand that they find out alternative ways to reduce the water usage. And she sent a letter, her assistant, and I look forward to maybe if I could have an administration, if it be council would allow it, have an administration try to respond and set up a meeting with Minister Schultz so I can discuss further on this water usage in our oil and gas industry reduction that I'm concerned with, that we need to apply. And then if that's the case, if we could get that to happen, if I could get council's approval for administration to help assist with meeting with Minister Todd McLowan in regards to our budget that we sent him quite a few months back in regards to Kenosu, because trying to corner these guys at the RMA was a little difficult. Some of them weren't even at some of the hospitality suites. And I'd love to meet with Mr. McIver because it seems you can't ground him up when in those hospitality suites. He's always got a big group around him. I'd like to be able to talk to him more about our tax rates in our agriculture sector. We've got to start looking ahead for the future, and I believe we need to make some changes there. So that's a couple things I'd like to see if the council would approve the administration to go forward with for me as well. I just want to bring up that the 4-H show and sale is going to be moved to the rodeo grounds of Bonneville on May 31st, 2024. And so it's a good thing. Like, we're getting it back from Cold Lake, the 4-H show, and I'd like to see us, the all council and MD, support this event. And I'm going to have talk with Tracy after council, Waslow, about maybe trying to get this into our rural review for the 4-H. Other than that, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Scarson,
So we had,
your microphone.
oh, just was on a second ago. We had a BFA meeting, and I think the biggest takeaway from that was that the new hall is pretty much on budget right now. And it sounds like the first or second week of April, they were beginning to move in.
Yeah, the interior renovations should be done in the second week of April, I think.
Yeah. So everything's going well with that. And then had a sports tourism meeting as well, and it's really everything to do with the Alberta Winter Games, which we had to form a society and open up bank accounts, and there's a bunch of logistics that have to go down before we kind of hire a games manager and let that person take the role on. So just working on that as well right now. So that's about it.
Okay. Councilor Fadea.
Unfortunately, I missed the library meeting yesterday and the AGM from the Chamber of Commerce in Cold Lake. I was not feeling well. The library meeting is pretty close quarters, so yeah, I thought I'd save everybody the pleasure of hanging around me. RMA was fantastic. Had a chance to talk to the Minister of Transportation office regards to our contentious Highway 28. I also had a sideline conversation with the Minister of Mental Health office, the Dan Williams, and we also need to, I think Mr. Rick Wilson, the Indigenous Relations Minister, kind of hightailed it out of there and never had a chance to talk to him when he asked me to speak with him after. So if I could also, along the list of Councillor Slipchuk's ask if we could set up a meeting with Minister Rick Wilson and chat with him about I guess the friendship centers, which like the funding for that, and yeah, we'd love to see that so we can follow up on that, because they did perceive that there was a solution for this, so we'll love to help the Cold Lake Friendship Center really hit some funding and get this Cookham's House stable and along for the future. Thank you.
Yeah, just before I start though, I'm not sure if CAO Hogan needs motion then, because Donnie had, I think, three, and you've got one for sure. So we'll have to make sure when I'm done, we'll figure that one out. So, of course, I attended RMA too. It was a good event. I just want to ask, Rick McIver made the comment that there's $25 billion over 3 years, 25 billion with a B, for capital investment or capital projects. Can we follow up on that number? Because that seemed like a big number. I mean, it's a good number. It's 25 million is not enough, 25 billion for sure.
But if you look at the wording of it, it's for expanding municipalities. When I was at the AM meetings, that was basically, it was a City of Airdrie / City of Cochrane Development Fund. But if you look at the restrictions, they're very, they got a lot, they you know, if you were buying a tractor, it had to be a red or a green, like, it is very specific to the big municipalities. And,
Okay, well,
yeah, it was,
not good news.
And through the chair, I confirm it's 20 million.
20 million.
That the grant program is 20 million. Yeah,
Well,
over, 60 million over 3 years, 20 million a year.
Yeah, because well, okay. It's interesting how you make notes when the guy speaks and it's still not right, so 25 billion, he said 25 billion over 3 years, but he also said something about, what else were we talking about when we asked him, and he kind of blew it, and he said 3 days, and, oh yeah, it was the tax holiday. He said it'll be over in 3 days. We said, well, no, it's 3 years, but, okay, anyway, RMA was a good one. One of the things that did come up, though, Scott Sear, MLA Sear, realizes Cold Lake is in a bit of a funding crunch for the wastewater treatment facility, and so he'd asked if he could come to a Rustic meeting, so apparently Scott Sear will be at our next Regional Utility Service Commission in Cold Lake, and because he wants to try to make that a regional sell to the government to get funding. And so it's because Cold Lake First Nations is part of that new water treatment facility. The MD of Bonnyville is using it, City of Cold Lake's using it. So it kind of is a bit regional, so maybe Scott Sear can convince government to help fund it. And it wasn't a huge ask, but he just needs that support, so. Municorp meeting recently, just I guess one of the key things from the Municorp meeting, there was lots of discussion about the linear fees for commission water lines. So Municorp has always struggled for funding because they have no revenue except for crossing agreements. So they're looking at kind of in the future charging a minimal amount to these commissions so that they can actually raise some kind of funding. So hopefully that's not too controversial, but it's coming up sometime in the future. And then there was a C2 meeting last night, and Deputy Reeve was there supporting the Reeve who couldn't make that one. Most of it actually was spent doing the audit, so the Metrics group was a virtual thing going over the financial budget, so we gave them a hard time about you know, the money that we've got and how the accountant should be maybe helping us a little bit better understand and maybe help us figure out how to get the C2 kind of out of the red or whatever. But anyway, that was it. Thank you.
Okay, I think on the 14th we had an egg service for meeting, but Councillor Kvyat covered that one, and we had the FCSS meeting. Rhonda was the interim director there, and she had her last day Friday last week. Actually, the week before, to be precise. RMA, we went there as well. Attended they had a net zero workshop, kind of explaining some of the stuff about what the goals are for net zero, and the presenter basically detailed how carbon dioxide is not a pollutant. It's just part of our air. There's nothing to be worried about, and showed how different weather patterns have happened all through history, and we're not really experiencing climate change either, which I fully agree with. It's just weather. Had a BRFA meeting. At the RMA too, I got chance to talk to Todd Lowen for a few minutes, and he's working on trying to open up fishing harvest opportunities in our lakes. And for people that aren't familiar with the harvest opportunities, that just means you're allowed to take a fish home and eat it. So he's hoping that some of that will come. He even said some of the regulations they're going to be published here right away in April, and if they can get the lakes opened, whether it's July or any time after that, they'll open them mid-season, even change the regulations. So that was kind of positive. I had an opportunity to go and judge science fair at St. Dominic's School, and it was good. C2 meeting last night, and then also at the RMA, Devin Dreeshen, he talked about the debt servicing costs for the province, and I think it's $3.3 million for our debt servicing costs, and he alluded to 3.3 billion, sorry, I should say, and just how many projects that would. That's basically the whole province's bridge infrastructure deficit, and we have about a $90 million kind of bridge deficit in the MD of Bonnyville. But that 3.3 million that we're spending as a billion as a province to service our provincial debt would cover the everyone's bridges in the province. So yeah, it's too bad that we got that huge deficit there. And that's about it for me. Okay. Do we need a motion though for? They're asking for. There's 3 minister requests there and 1 here.
I'm okay with it. I think we're okay without a motion. Some of these things are already in process already.
Okay.
So I just want to make it, Indigenous Affairs, Municipal Affairs, Todd Lowen's office, and Rebecca Schultz's office. So those are the 4. So we'll get them sent out right away. We're already drafting a letter regarding to Minister Rick Wilson regarding Cocum's House and the Friendship Centers. That's in process already. So those will be ready for council to view probably before the end of the week, the letters of support, and we'll just get the invitations going right away.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
So I do have one more comment, and I think it's for council, but the CAO. So I've been talking to seniors in the area that are struggling with, driving to medical appointments or whatever, and so I reached out to a few different places, and then I was kind of pointed toward Age Friendly in Coal Lake, but I didn't realize Age Friendly in Coal Lake actually had a seniors program for driving seniors to medical appointments. So I guess I'll reach out to them and get more detail, but it covers wards 5 and 6 within the MD. And so if you needed, to drive to Edmonton or whatever they have kind of set up, I think it's sort of you register as a volunteer to drive them, and there's some coverage or whatever. So maybe we can sort of look at that for the entire MD somehow, with maybe there's an Age Friendly in Bonnyville, or I don't know, we're kind of funding some mileage for seniors, so maybe we can kind of work together with Age Friendly and see if we can get something for the entire MD. So maybe I'll ask admin to reach out to Age Friendly in Coal Lake and have them maybe present to us and tell us what they're doing. If that's a good idea, I'm not sure.
The Bonnyville FCSS, we give them money for seniors transportation grant, and that covers wards 1 to 4, and the Age Friendly covers wards 5 to 6, is my understanding. But I mean, Councillor Padilla, Councillor Kirby.
Yeah, but Age Friendly actually drives people. We're given money, right? So they're using it themselves to get there.
But it's a volunteer driver, right? So if you want to volunteer to drive somebody, well, then they can get the money in for the transportation grant, and it can go to the driver. It doesn't have to go in the person that's the senior's bank account.
No, I'm just saying, no, it's great, but we should maybe work together and get a program that works for everyone, sort of thing. Yeah.
We can look at it. Okay. Well, I think we have 2 items in closed session, so just looking for a motion to go into camera. Okay, thank you, Councillor Fadeev. I'll call for the vote on that. And I'm in favor. Here it comes. Okay, that's carried, thank you.